Hey guys, it's been a long while since I've come back to this game, but I just haven't had the time to record this particular video. But yeah, this is basically just an afterword about our playthrough of Monster Hunter Stories, the remake on the Switch. So, why am I making this video? Basically to show off that I did, in fact, 100% this game. So, I'll quickly go over what I guess you guys already know. This was our team by the end of the game. We're basically all level 99 at this point. And, more importantly, which should be on the writer's card, you actually recognize the background for a split second. But, as you can see here, 199 hours is pumped into this game. 2,404 monsters slain, 1,237 eggs acquired. A lot of eggs, and the reason for that was I was attempting to get every single skill that is in the game. Because, turns out, the game doesn't record where if you have certain skills, so I had to go off the fact of the monsters I had in my inventory, and then try and work backwards to figure out which skills I was missing, and then had to go out and try and get the monsties with these skills. It was probably the toughest part, because it took me so many hours. I think 40 hours altogether just to get the last few, I guess, skills. The very last skill was actually on a Gypsaros that I ended up getting after I did the method of just going into the forest and trying to find one and make it retreat. But, as you can see here, the more important part, every single achievement is gotten. And when you do get all these achievements, all 100 of them, you actually get a pop-up that gives you a bunch of commendations for completing all of them. So we have all the story achievements, we have all the battle achievements, we have all the Monstie achievements. With this particular one was the last one we got, which was the Kinship Gene Jewel, collecting all Kinship's genes. The Mysterious dwell within this red jewel. This was by far the hardest thing to get. It probably will be difficult in the next games, but at the very least, we have, I believe, at least starting from Stories 2, they recorded which skills you did get. So at least it'll be a little easier to track. We have all the collection ones, which weren't too difficult. I just had to go back and grab a couple. And we got all the life ones, and the last one for this one was getting all 1 million Zenny, which what I did was, because I'm not planning on upgrading any of the armors that I wasn't going to use, I just ended up using a talisman to boost selling, and then basically sell off a bunch of monster material. But that's not the only thing I want to show off, besides the fact that I have 100% of the game at this point. Man, it's been a long while since we've seen here. Also, I changed the rider's design a little bit, give him the scar on his cheek. You'll know, you know. Especially given what happened in the final battle of the story. But yeah, I basically have all the Poogie stuff is done, and more importantly, we have all our Monsties. So, I'm going to quickly go over what I can, because I want to show off all the different Monsties that we have. So, in terms of this game, it doesn't really sort by the species, which kind of sucks, but we basically have every single Monstie, and you can see via these patterns on them that they are all the different elements. So any monsters that had elements, like didn't have an element, I have 6 of them. If they did have an element, I have 5 of them. So I do in fact have every single color variation you can possibly get in this game of every single Monstie. Some Monsties are a little bit easier to see, some aren't so easy. Some of the colors are a bit iffy, I will admit. Some of the ice ones aren't terribly that nice looking. But yeah, every single Monstie has a element now. Some of them are more obvious, some are not. I'm probably just going to slowly just scroll through some of them, just to show off the different colorations, because they're all out of order, so I can't really effectively show them off. And I wish I could zoom out a bit more, but it is what it is. Oh, there we go. There's a zoom out function. But yeah, some of them, like the dragon element ones, tend to be really cool. I would say water and ice tend to be a little bit more lackluster on some monsters. but they're still there. Some of them are very present, like on stripes and stuff. I think some of the... I'm trying to remember which ones had a really not that distinct. I think the Great Jaggies are kind of really mid, due to the fact that I believe it's just the mane that changes color, so they're not really that obvious. But yeah, some of these were actually really tough to end up getting because every monster has certain genes of different elements, and in order for them to actually show an element, they need to have one element higher than the rest by at least, I believe, 2 points in order to get it. So for example, this Ice Great Baggy has an element of Dragon 3 on its attack, so we needed to get Ice up to 5 in order for it to actually show off that it is an Ice type. Some of these creatures also have hidden hidden built-in elements. As you can see, Dragon was more here than others. But yeah, I would say the hardest part of getting almost every single one of these like different colorations was some of the elements are not easy to get. For example, fire was probably the quickest one to get because there's a lot of fire-based monsters so you can take their genes from. Because it's not just taking a fire-based gene and being like, okay, here we go. It has to give a plus element of that particular type in order for it to actually affect the Monstie. So some of the things like, I believe, Gravios and stuff like that, Gravios was awful to use. Gravios had literally nothing to give, even though it had so much fire element on it. Didn't do anything at all. Yeah, it is also interesting to see some Monsties that have subspecies which are of a different typing. For example, Baroth and Jade Baroth, but the ice only affects the coloration slightly. But yeah, there's plenty of monsters I can just scroll through. I will say the game does get a bit grindy near the end as I was trying to get some of these, I guess, last few elements. Because of just how scarce some of the monsters are that give elements. I believe the ones I struggled the most with was Ice and Dragon. There are not many dragon types that give dragon element, which I believe it was really just Deviljo and Stygian. I was hunting for those particular Monsties as I was doing these quests, I guess you could say. But yeah, even though I was trying to get all the kinship skills and whatnot just to get all the skills, I still didn't get enough elements, and by the time I'd gotten all the skills, I still had a couple Monsties left to end up transferring the genes over to get the different colors. So yeah, I probably should pick up the pace with how quickly I'm going to scroll through these, because there are a ton. I have 366 Monsties, so I technically could get more Monsties, but as of all these, I believe that, how would I say it? I guess I would say that if you want to get one of every type, including the non-elemental, you have plenty of room to do it, and you still got like a couple of more spaces. I do know one of the spaces is taken up by the amiibo Rathalos that we have. The amiibo cannot be transferred into any other genes, so once you have it, it's just you have it. Which I guess I do understand, because I believe you can only get one of the egg per save file, so you can't just get rid of it. Which is handy at least, so that it's there. It is though very funny that the amiibo Ratha doesn't have the scar, only regular Ratha has the scar. But yeah, technically there are enough amiibos for you to do a whole amiibo run, because you technically have the female and male riders. You have Avinia and Chevelle and Dan as amiibos, which I guess at the time I'm recording this, I do have an Avinia amiibo, so I can technically scan in to get Frostfang in the game. I probably won't do it here because, I mean, we're at the end of the game. We've 100%ed. There's literally nothing else left for us to do. But another thing was, I guess, with difficulty of getting some of these Monsties is getting some of the rarer ones. Because while there are some that are set missions where you can always get the guaranteed, some of them aren't. Like the Sand Barriers took a bit of a while to get. I believe some of the Elder Dragons were a bit fickle at times. Especially Kirin, I believe. due to the fact Kieran is also in the same area as Pink Rathian, and I tend to pull Pink Rathian more. But yeah, you can see we have all these Monsties. I am a little sad that when we go over to, I guess, Stories 2, all this elemental changing skins don't exist, unfortunately, which really sucks. But they did put out a trailer for 3, and 3 has confirmed that they're bringing back, I think, elemental changes, which I'm so excited for. And it seems to be a lot more, like, detailed in the changes instead of just a slight color change, which is always handy. Go quickly over the technicals and stuff, but yeah, some of these color changes are really good, some of them are really obvious, and some of them are just not that great. I think yeah, look at this is an ice Garuga, you can barely tell it's an ice type. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed Stories. I'm planning to run through Stories 2 and 3 when they come out. I probably will play through 3 before I end up streaming it, because I am excited for that game. But yeah, it's definitely something I will be doing. And I mean, we are currently running through Rise, and if you have been keeping up with that series, I will probably be posting that along the side all the Stories walkthrough. But there's not really much more I could really explain in terms of like some of these Monsties, so I'll just quickly snap through some of them. I realize that it's going to get a lot harder once we get to 3, because 2 added quite a lot of new monsters to the game. But even then, when they added those monsters, it turns out they were restrained by COVID, so they weren't able to actually put in every single monster that they wanted to. So we were supposed to get more, but we didn't end up doing that. So now I assume they'll be adding those into 3, so there's going to be even more to play with. But yeah, I am definitely looking forward to it. At the very least, I have promised that when we do run through Stories 2, we will be using a different team. You are forced to use one particular Monstie throughout the playthrough, but I think that's just to prevent you from soft locking and, you know, for story purposes. Yeah, I am looking forward to see what we end up running for the next game. What I really wish they'd do is reprint some of the amiibos, because I really want the Story 1's amiibos. I'm actually eyeing to try and find them in the wild, but it's been rough. I cannot believe how high the prices have risen since then. Alrighty, so I think this is... I'll quickly... I know there is a person out there on the internet who has actually shown off all the different colours that you can get for some of these Monsties and stuff like that, like a detailed document, which is nice. But it's nice to see them, just all my hard work. Plus, some of them are really good coloration variants. I kind of wish I had run in some more monsters with different colorations, but the problem with that is just getting all the skills and getting good skills as well. Because a lot of these monsters do have cool skills, but some of them are just not that usable. I know for a fact a lot of the electric Monsties I ended up transferring skills, a lot of them have flash from Gypsaros, because Gypsaros just happens to have a +2 in electricity when you give other monsters flash. And I do remember I gave it to a Lagiacrus because I needed it to flash a bunch of Rathaloses for the kinship skill. Cannot believe I did not have, like, kinship skill small. It was really interesting how a lot of the skills I was missing were medium and small. A lot of the large ones I'd gotten pretty easily. It was just like the really niche skills that I didn't have. Yeah, I think we are approaching the end here of the technicals, yeah. It is interesting to see some of the names on some of these Monsties, because I know we did use them very momentarily in the playthrough, but we ended up dropping them. This is one Monstie I did not actually give any skills to. So, the Great Poogie actually has the benefit of being any element. The problem is there's only one Poogie, so it's very hard to show off all the different elemental changes that can happen to this guy. But from what I've seen, the scarf changes color depending on which element you choose for the Poogie. So if you're fire, it'll go red, water, blue, ice, light blue, etc. So if you are running Poogie, that is one thing you can do. I just kind of wish we could get Poogie a bit earlier in the run to use him, because E is so silly. But by the time we'd gotten Poogie, we basically had a fully set team that we were just set on using. I'll have to skip through this one really quickly because there are 10 pages of power types. Because, yep, there are a lot of power types. A lot of them are Elder Dragons or really high-leveled stuff, which made it interesting to get. Also, it is really cool that you can see some of these colors during the DLC Towers of Heaven, where some of the riders there do have different elemental monsties and stuff. But yeah. Quickly scan through these, because, like I said, not much more I can talk about. Just that I really enjoyed this game. I do know somebody asked me if I would recommend this game to others, and I would say yeah. There are some characters that do show up in 2 that show up here. I wouldn't say this game is as good as 2. There's a big reason why a lot of people like 2 a lot more than 1, besides accessibility. 1's story is a lot more basic, and there are a lot of glaring issues of 1. It's very rushed in terms of its story, and then the story sort of ends very quickly. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. I would have liked to have gotten to know the villagers a little bit more at the beginning of the game, instead of just, you have to watch the anime to get to know these characters sort of feeling. Because I believe when I was looking up stuff about the anime, it turns out that some of that stuff is just locked, where it's very hard to find it anywhere. Which is a bit of a shame. It would have been really cool to show off bits and pieces of that. But unfortunately, most of the second season, which is all the original content which would have explained a lot of the stuff in the Tower of Heavens, is just not available, really. Unless you can find it somehow. Still would recommend, like, looking into it a little bit, just for the fun of it. It's nothing too deep, but that's kind of what this game is. It's not a very deep story, it's just you going after your, going out, seeing your dreams, fight a big giant dragon. That's a great way to describe the game. Like, there is a bit of threat, but the threat's dealt with quite quickly. And, I mean, there is another threat being that doctor who just disappears in the story, which, that's probably one gripe. I kind of wish we could see more about it, but apparently he did show up a bit more in the anime, so that's just what I think it is. The anime was just there to fill out the gaps of this game, because, yeah, there's a lot of story that is missing. But 2 is a very good game, and I think when 2 came out, they were like, okay, we're actually going to properly put in a story. Not to mention, on the 3DS, this game didn't have voice acting, so the voice acting was added later. Also, by the ways, look at this dragon element Rathalos, isn't it so good? My goodness. They better bring this type of stuff back, though I'm not sure if they can, considering, apparently Rathaloses are extinct over in 3. I wonder how they even get to that point. How do you manage to just hunt like a species to extinction? Well, I guess we'll find out the answers there. But there's the amiibo one, and as you can see, the amiibo Ratha has both eyes, but he does have his own unique skills that are tied to him, but you can't really do anything like trade it off anyways. A lot of Congolalas I remember getting. That was probably another really difficult thing about getting all the skills, was just having to deal with the endless supply of like the same monster if you failed the pull and didn't get the one you wanted. There were many times I ended up just picking up an egg, seeing what it was, and if they ran out, I just ended up discarding the egg because it wasn't worth going through the whole process of hatch the egg and then just release it anyways. Because that just would mean more tidying up in here. Especially since, as you can see, you can't see the elements on these Monsties until you hover over them. And they're all out of order, unfortunately, in this game, which is another slight gripe of mine. So, once I started organizing it, I kid you not, I have... You guys obviously can't see this, but I do end up having this whole checklist of every single monster, and I had to write down every letter to try and show off, like, oh, this monster has this, and this monster has... I have this one, I have this element, sort of thing. And I had to keep track of it like that, because there is no way to track it in this game. It was worth it in the end, though. I am happy that I managed to get every single, like, monster in this game. A big reason for that is just because I love this game so much. Like, I know a lot of people say that 2 is their favorite, but this one really holds a special place in my heart. Like, when I first played it, I just enjoyed it so much. So when I saw it got remastered, I jumped onto that so quickly to be able to play this game again with the higher graphics as well as the voice acting, and to be able to 100% complete it this time around. Because I definitely didn't do that in my original playthrough of my game on 3DS. I believe I ended up, like, not being able to do any of the Kirin hunts, couldn't beat Rajang, so I never got a did that. Not that I could get a Rajang, because Rajang wasn't available on the 3DS. It was in the mobile version that a lot of the monsters like Glavenus and Rajang were added. And I believe also White was also added. I don't think White Monobloss was available in the base game, but I cannot remember. And I mean, we fought Fatalis and got his armor too, so that's another accomplishment that we managed to do. Also, look at this. Some of the Dragon Element ones just go so hard. I know I have been really skimming through these really quickly, so it's a bit hard to see each of the different colors that well, whilst I'm pretty much yapping at this point. But yeah, we are almost there. There is also one other thing I do want to show off to you guys, because I mean, we have finished everything here, but there is a really cool thing I did want to show off at some point during the playthrough, but I couldn't really find a good place to be like, oh, I want to put this here, I want to talk about it. So I am going to do that, I guess, in just a moment once we get through the last page here, which I think there is not too many left. I think it's just, yeah, it's just all the herbivores left. Maybe next time I'll run, like, one of these guys. I know there is somebody who's fought Fatalis with a Aptonoth. Good on them. I cannot imagine doing that. This is always going to be the hardest part, is that you can only have 5 monsters in a playthrough, and my goodness, there are so many great choices. There we go. So I'll quickly show this off in... I probably don't need to save the game, maybe. You know what, why not? Let's save the game. No harm in saving the game. But, I have to leave the game for a moment in order to show this off. There we go, look at that. Our finished file. Took so long, but we got there in the end. Alright, I'm gonna quickly jump over to what I was talking about. I'll have to return to the title. So, right here, in the main menu, there is a museum function. And over here, you actually can view all the music in the game, essentially, as you can see here. Which is cool enough. It even seems to tell you as well, that's kind of cool. Oh, interesting, it actually has different notes from the different, the directors and stuff like that, where they're talking about the different, reasons between different songs. That's kind of cool. But the thing I want to show off the most is over here, actually. It is all the concept art. You can check out all the concept art of the game. So it has everything in terms of like what they had for concept art. And even they also have little blurbs here, which is the commentary from, I guess, the creators, where they are talking about things here. So our design for the main character originated from the idea of fusing a rider and a monster. You can see the character from behind pretty often in the game, so I was glad we were able to make it look like a face from behind. Riders are virtually unknown to the world of hunters, so we designed them as a tribe living hidden away in the mountains. We knew their lifestyle would center around riding on animals, so the Mongols, with their equestrian culture, was one source of inspiration for the design. So yeah. Yeah, really cool things there too. But yeah, you can see the 2 different designs for the female and the male riders. Interestingly enough, I believe, while I know that the male rider is called Lute because of the anime, apparently the female rider is called Sophie as the default name. That's something interesting to know. We also have here, like, the different hairstyles they thought about and such like that. I do like just how charming the art style is for the sketches and stuff. You can see them, like, talking about how hats and stuff would work. And this outfit, yeah, the main character needed to appear before the player selects the gender, so we needed a gender-neutral design. And we also did a drawing of the 3 close friends. So yeah, if you remember, right at the beginning of the game, we have this one outfit that we wear and never again. This is it. Which is, as you can see, the three down there also are wearing the same hood, which is really cool. We also have Naviro. We wanted to give Naviro a variety of expressions and movements that match the manga-esque feel for the game, so we went with a comical design. While he may look mischievous, he's actually very reliable and turned out to be a wonderful character. The Naviro design requested called for a feline that was different from usual, so we put together a bunch of possibilities. When the rough base for the current Naviro came out, there were people for and against it internally, but it was the only one with that perfect balance. So yeah, as you can see, Naviro actually went through a ton of different design choices, as you'll see in just a moment, so you can probably recognize a lot of those expressions on the left, usually all these little cut-ins when we're doing the battles and stuff like that. You can see the feline design compared to him. We got the electric design here and how it works, as well as Pansy. We got these cute little things, and I believe this one is actually referenced in Animal Crossing New Leaf as a little figurine, which is cool. But yeah, he has a lot of little different designs. It's always fun to watch people come up with this design, but they don't have 100% certainty of what they want the design to be, because you get so much concept art. Concept art is by far some of my favorite things. Like, look at this. This is some of the designs they came up with Naviro. And you can see next to me, that's what the actual felines look like in the original games. Very basic design. I do like this design as well, but I understand why they went for the more comical design. I kind of wish that we got this design though. This one's my favorite. But yeah, look at all the different designs where they couldn't really figure out. Like, they want to go for big eyes, big ears, squishy body, all that sort of stuff. Whoa! They even got the fuzzy design, but that looks like it ended up going to another of the numbers. We have Cheval. Cheval's hair became an important way to express his emotional state. We try to capture the change in his eternal state as he goes from calm to emotionally distressed. Cheval falls to the dark side after the events early in the story, so his appearance and character also reflect those changes. We try to make sure he felt like a cool rival, not just someone who's evil, as we worked on the design. But yeah, here we go. Here's Cheval. And you have a whole design here too, which is always great if you need it. And yeah, you can see here, apparently his hair does go slightly darker, which I didn't notice until I was doing the character creation, because his hairs are both available. He has 3 different hair types. His pre-disaster hairstyle, his post-disaster hairstyle, and he actually has one based on the anime, which is the 2nd season. But yeah, you can see here, up at the top, it shows like the version on the left is his normal hair, and then on the right it gets a lot more scruffier as well. I believe it gets longer too. Sometimes I wonder how much time actually went between us separating from Cheval. It makes it feel like a lot longer just by the way he changes so much. We fitted him in Wrath's soul armor to create a tight, compact look that makes a light, youthful impression. This is a small detail, but we also made slight adjustments to his hair to give him more stern look here. So you can see, yeah, his hair actually switches directions and stuff like that. Which is really cool, that you wouldn't notice this unless the commentary told you. But yeah, there's a lot of cool concept art here. And I believe that's the state he gets when he's on the White Dragon as well. Which is, it's so funny to see the 2 differences between, like, him and his, like, more angsty arc, I guess we can call it, and his more childlike. It's really interesting. As we designed Lilia, we thought it would be great for the protagonist and Cheval to have a friend who would contrast them. So we put her in a more neutral yellow and gave her an intellectual, charming look. And you can see even there's like the modeling. Some of these later designs do show off modeling as well. But yeah, it looks like she went through quite a few different designs as well. The pigtails seem to be consistent, but yeah. It is a bit of a shame that we don't get to see her yellow design as much. I do like the loops she had, but I do understand why they went for a more, like, studious look for her design when she joins the Scriveners. Lilia's clothes have a bit of a poncho-like look with lace around the collar. You can see hints of how much she admires Simone. Her design in Monster Hunter Stories 2 is also inspired by Simone, who is clearly someone very important to her. So yeah, there's notes of... This stuff was added, obviously, after Stories 2, that's why they can, like, talk about stuff in Stories 2. Well, I guess that's a slight spoiler, she will show up in Stories 2, but if you played that game, you would know. Lilia is energetic and pulls the main character and Cheval in different directions during the story, so we wanted to give her a look of determination. I think the gap between when she becomes a Scrivener in the middle of the story and when she was in the village is also really nice. But yeah, you can see here, she's had like so many different designs, even different colored hair as well. But always, as always, concept art is great for when you just want to draw designs. And I always find it interesting that sometimes they have the design of an outfit, but they don't have like the color palette either, so you can see they went through different color palettes as well. Lavinia is the radiant heroine. We wanted her to have an emanate light, so we made her base color palette white. She grew up in a snowy area, so she can put up with the cold weather even in lighter clothing. Because she's a heroine character of sorts, we tried to make her symbols clear. It was a no-brainer to give her a Barioth monster to match her white clothing. So we can see Lavinia. She doesn't have too much presence in this story. I think she has a little bit more in the 2, but it is quite interesting that she has such a great design, but she definitely feels like she would be a main character in her own story. It's kind of a shame she's not as much. Nice. The different hairstyles and stuff like that. But yeah, she just screams. She definitely screams like, I guess main character. It is a bit of a shame she isn't, but yeah, she definitely does have that feel. Roberto was a challenge. He's an incredible hunter, but when he's not hunting, he's a bit untidy, so we couldn't make him too cool. Before his name was set, we called him the Hunter Bro. Ah yes, Monster Hunter loves doing this in the earlier games where they never gave people names. I think Stories was like their first sort of iteration of actually giving official names to people before they just gave titles and stuff. We try to make him cool, but also add comic relief. He's a talented hunter who hates bugs. He's a relentless fighter, and also a keen observer of nature. We had a ton of background for him and worked carefully to use his gestures to bring out both the light and serious sides of his personality. And they even show you how his outfit works, which is always something too. Sometimes you have to explain that, oh, by the way, these outfits aren't put on by magic. But yeah, Roberto's cool. Yeah, you can see him, all these little different designs and stuff like that. It is so funny to see how the main character is so small compared to him. And all the different facial expressions as well. You have Debly. He's a character that I don't think shows up in Stories 2, so yeah, he only showed up in this game and that's it. We were thinking of giving Debly a bunch of siblings, so one of the reasons he was selling fake kinship stones would have been to help his family. I love his giant abacus that doubles as a weapon. When he grows up, I hope he becomes a proper merchant. He's a bit sketchy when you first meet him, but over the course of the story, he becomes a really nice, lovable guy. I think the abacus he carries around on his back as a weapon is a great character detail. So yeah, and you can see at the top what his armor is based off, which I believe is the Zuros armor. So that's kind of a neat detail as well. So it's not one for one, but it has similarities. And you can see all the different little designs for him too. He actually went through a lot too. Whoa, some of them are really different, which is very cool. But yeah, it feels like he would have had a bit more presence in the story had the story been a bit longer. But yeah, as we know, Stories 1 was a 3DS title. And I guess it was like they weren't entirely certain if they wanted to go all the way in. But they definitely did that once they went into Stories 2. We wanted to give Simone a beautiful crane-like silhouette. Even her hair looks inspired by birds. It was tough just drawing her hair, so we tested a 3D version using software new to us as we developed the design. Initially, this character was going to be a man, but when it was changed to a woman, we approached things from a design perspective. The character began to solidify when some drawings came out in the style of male roles played by all-female theatrical troupes in Japan. Interesting. So she could have been a male character, but they decided to change it otherwise. And I think that's might have been a really smart decision, because I know a lot of people like Simone. It is a bit of a shame she didn't show up in 2, because of how much a lot of people like her design, and just her in general. She definitely screams like that cool factor, which is really good. Yeah, as you can see here, she went through a ton of designs. You I can definitely see the bird inspiration by like the flicks and stuff like that, the sharp contrasts. Dr. Manelga is a mad scientist, so of course he's a little crazy, but we also made him comical enough that he wouldn't be too scary. Along with the assistants, I think we did a good job of creating a character that people don't hate. Manelga is scheming to artificially control monsters, so he is a bad guy, but I think his expressions and the way he's animated makes it so people can't hate him. We gave him a prosthetic right arm, and I imagined that it was replacing an arm that had been eaten by a monster during an experiment. Yeah, just casually this lore, just here in the the concept art, not in the main games. Yeah, you can see he went through a lot of designs along with Itsy Bitsy. He's another one that had so many different designs. But I can see where some of them, they're like, oh, we have to like move away from that design because, you know, it's a bit too scary, like that previous one with the Devil Joe arm. Itsy Bits is capable enough to be Dr. Manelga's assistant, which means he's pretty talented. We wanted to give him an insolent looking face. We gave him round dot eyes for eyes, so you can't read his expression. He puts up with Manelga's persecution every day, so we worked on his character. We started to feel like he would eventually try and get revenge for all that abuse. Yeah, so who knows, maybe Itsy Bitsy moved away from Dr. Manelga at some point. He only has, unfortunately, one artwork. I guess they kind of got his design down, so they're like, yep, that's enough. Our goal was to create a diverse cast for players to enjoy, not just have a bunch of beautiful main characters. That's what we had in mind when we designed Dan. We wanted him to be easily relatable. Ah yes, Dan. It is so funny that Dan doesn't really have that much of a presence in the story. I kind of wish he did. I mean, this guy has an amiibo. Surely he could have had a bit more of a presence. It's made so much funnier that his amiibo is a Kurapeko, and we never see him have a Kurapeko in the game, except for in the Tower of Heavens, which was an anime reference. So, and yeah, you can see here in the concept art, he had a Kurapeko in mind, but they just decided to keep him with the Velocidrome and never give him a Kurapeko. Ah, here we go. We have, Valu, I believe her name is, which is, Chevelle's mother. And it looks like they based her model using some of the details from the female hairstyle, too. As we were designing Chief Mallory, we wondered whether Wyverians should have any heavy set characters. The Channeler is also one of these types. So yeah, you can see she is a Wyverian by her long ears, the 4 digits, as well as the different shaped feet as well. We designed Gentor as a stubborn old man who doesn't listen and who wouldn't want his scary glare looking my way. Ah yes, another character that just shows up for a brief moment and then disappears. We made Fahali an intellectual character who stands by the side of Chief Norma. She's the polar opposite of Gentor. So yeah, there's so many cool designs and they just sort of get glossed over, which really sucks. We have in mind someone healthy and hot spring... We had in mind someone healthy and hot spring eggs, and what resulted was this egg-shaped character with a super smooth skin from his soaks. Because the world of Monster Hunter Stories is stylized in the way it is, we have a lot of fun coming up with ideas for different character shapes. We took some liberties with the Wyverian background when designing the Channeler. As you can see here, he's not as young and handsome as you think he is. And you can see the height difference as well. I sort of imagine the main character will eventually become as tall as the regular human standing next to the Channeler. But yeah, more concept art of all the different characters and stuff like that. Got some of the guild masters as well, which is cool. And we have some of the guild ladies as well, who we got to see a little bit. As you can see, a lot of the sketches don't really change too much. It's just them trying to come up with the design for the facial rather than the uniform, because they had that pretty much packed down. It looks like they've got most of the stuff covered. Oop. Got some of the people from the different towns, as well as some of the general people here too, because these are scriveners that we talk to, but they don't have names or anything like that. Ah, here we go, the numbers. I wanted to make a number 1 a warm, straight shooting character, so we added a flame to his mohawk. I hoped he'd be friends with Naviru, so I drew them next to each other in the sketches. Made number 2's ears look like ice crystals. We also tried to make Cryo an older brother figure, more so than Beats or Naviru. We gave number 3 a strong presence, with her gorgeous golden locks. Actually, we also had the idea of making her look thinner when she gets wet. Which is so funny, how look at the difference between her here and then when she's wet. She's so skinny. Also, they did point out that she has a bit of a Triforce-looking design on her wrist, which is funny. I know what the true meaning of those are. Apparently, I think, as you can see here on number 4, they just symbolize the number of triangles they have on their wrists. It's not a Triforce, it just happens to be 3 triangles. Number 4 is unique and cute with these goggles that function as his eyes. Kaname Fujioka is the Worldview director and helped a lot with the design. Ah, so Fujioka actually helped with this. He's one of the big headwigs for Monster Hunter in general. You sometimes see him during some of the directs and stuff. Floof can sleep anywhere. Looking at him makes me sleepy. His long hair is so soft and fluffy. He's designed to be a sort of cute, troublesome younger brother for Nabiro. We designed Tiger to be a gang leader and Pansy to be a heroine. It was difficult to get the annoyed look on Screwtail's face just right. You can see the cute little facial expressions. When doing housework, an apron and kerchief were pretty standard, but we switched the kerchief to a turban to match the setting. I think it turned out cute. This is, I believe, the housekeeper for Roberto. When stylizing feline bodies so they are smaller, making the hands and feet larger gives them a fluffier look. So yeah, all the felines in this game are a lot stylized and shorter, but you can see all the different ear types and eye types over on the top right. Alrighty. At least I won't have to talk too much. I think the character ones is where most of the design aspects come from. But here we have the monsters. To show that Ratha's blighted state worsens because of his injury, we made him darker than other monsters and had the light around his eyes and wound stand out. So I believe we can zoom in here. There we go. So yeah, you can see how as he's this was in the final battle where he was starting to get affected by the blight, which we have this really cool dark Ratha design. Mecha monsters are inspired by real-world horse armor and are designed as if humans are controlling them by suppressing their senses and bridling them. Afternoth are from the early games, and they have been updated. The technology of the restraints have also been refined, or perhaps made more extravagant. They make it seem like Dr. Manelga was pretty sure of himself. So yeah, you can see this is all the models, and it looks like they even took the actual models from the mainline games to get an idea of how these armors would look. As you can see, the Barrioth here is actually from the main games. That's what he looks like on the 3DS and such. So we just have all the different mecha monster designs and where they would fit on the bodies. I do love how they literally just grabbed the actual models from the mainline games. I mean, that's kind of what they're from. Oh, and we have this one. Versa Pietru hatches from the egg. It's immediately in larval form. And the image we had was that being blighted caused Makili Pietru to grow from it. In the cutscene after being defeated, its true untainted form shows for a brief moment. In the design drawings, Makili Pietru has kinship or piercing its chest, but over the course of making the game it ended up being removed. We used mammals as a base for the design. The designers worked really hard to come up with the perfectly sinister black color of the white dragon's transformation. The design turned out great. The white dragon's horns face down and it seems like a herbivore, but when it transforms they face up and look like a carnivore. Ah yes, Makili Pietru. I kind of wish Makili Pietru would show up in the mainline games in some way. It's such a cool design. And yeah, as you can see them talking about it, the horns do go from up down to up, which is really cool. Backgrounds. Basically the things you see in the different areas of the world. I'm from the countryside, so when I was a kid, I'd usually run around the rice fields and mountains when I played with my friends. It always felt like a big adventure. Pondry Hills is both the hometown and the start of an adventure for the characters, so we wanted to have a similar, pastoral, childlike atmosphere. You can see the concept art as well as the characters up here in the foreground. I do love how you can zoom in just to see just how much detail they put into this concept art, which is really cool. There's that painted look as well. Obviously, if you have this game, you can always check out this art. This amazing art from all the concept artists and stuff like that. There is so much here, which is to just look at. And plus, I'm a huge fan of, obviously, any sort of concept art. Snowy mountains and icebergs look beautiful from afar, but up close they're brutally cold, and if you lose focus for even a moment, you could lose your life. Plus, who knows what's lurking around? We had this duality of beautiful but dangerous in mind when creating the Daj snowfields. Also, this is where we first meet Avinia. We wanted the design to match her blonde hair and fair skin. It is kind of interesting here, if you look at the concept art, they have the Shakalakas here, which you only see as an enemy in the games, but here they seem to be more friendly in the concept art. But yeah, it is quite interesting to see the designs of just like, it seems to be sort of like moments in time, rather than like a thing. Look how worried that Velocidrome looks like. He's like, wow, bro, that's unfortunate for you. It is interesting to see him, because I believe Velocidrome is the only guaranteed monster you get in the game, because it's the first one you hatch. So, and obviously this is early in the game when you don't have Ratha on the party, so it makes sense why they're using him quite frequently in a lot of these, I guess, concept arts. The Monsoon Plains is where the adventure really gets going. There's a jungle on one side and desert on another, with a black volcano looming over everything. Personally, I wanted the player to be a bit confused about where to go as we were designing it. I can say this now, but we weren't sure how to distinguish the area from Pondry Hills. One day, I was grocery shopping and was inspired by a big sack of potatoes and broccoli, which is how we ended up with this design. We considered adding more dying trees because of the encroaching desert, but thought it might be a little boring. Then we realized that fall foliage is basically a kind of dying, so we went with the beautiful foliage. I love how they mention just like, oh yeah, sack of potatoes. Sometimes best ideas just come from the most mundane things. And all the different locations as well. We had traditional literature in mind with the perennial pass. Something like, we came out of the cave into spring. We went through a harsh winter and now we're somewhere warm, beautiful and safe. We imagined a place you could picnic under giant cherry trees with fields of flowers. And yeah, this is probably one of my favorite places in the game. I'm really biased to cherry blossoms. It's just a stunning location, especially after just seeing white for so long. And you just hit with just this beautiful spring. The origins of riders are hidden in the Babduf rainforest, so we wanted to make the area feel like a mysterious set of ancient ruins. The jungle is the core image. Everything has abundant energy, and the life forms that make the jungle their home are all massive. We made sure to include a lot of insects because Roberto's hatred of bugs is the reason they first come here. And the fuzzy stuff that Naviero was having so much fun with, it's actually bugs as well. Oh, interesting, they have, like, Catch a Watcher here at this point. I guess that makes sense, you do get him in the islands. I don't think you come to the Babda for real until after the islands. Yeah, interesting. There's a couple of areas here that don't look like they ended up in the final design. I just love the color palettes of some of these artworks. Whoever drew these is so stunning. Hey, we finally get Ratha to show up in some of these cutscenes too, which is nice. It is interesting, it seems that they wanted the rider to have a greatsword. I do not know how Lute is holding that with just one hand though. Greatsword is massive. The basis for the terraced desert was harsh desert imagery, a hot, barren area filled with endless sand dunes. I wanted it to feel like something you'd dream up when you were a child, a mountain that turned out to be a monster. A tornado with lightning spinning inside it, treasure hunting and finding a wrecked sand ship. Interesting about the lightning bit, because later on, there is a desert area in Wilds that has a lot of lightning related to it. Oh, interesting, this is just a huge monster they were planning to have in the game. And they were apparently planning to have a lot more greenage in the area. Oh, and apparently Joe's showing up this early too. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of this stuff that didn't make it to the base game. Which is a shame, because a lot of this looks really, really cool. Caves and volcanoes are an easy way to create adventure, and we didn't want to deviate from that, so we made straightforward caverns filled with lava. But if we didn't add anything, it would be a little boring, so we designed the environment to have candy characteristics. Layers of earth that look like marbled cake, lava like melted candy, and ash sprinkled around like granulated sugar. Interesting. I guess that makes sense. I do remember there were some walls where it had like the different colored layers and stuff. Interesting that candy was sort of their thought pattern here. Well, you can see it a lot here in the walls here. Very interesting that that's the design choice. Oop. And one last one here with the danger sign. Nice. Minoga's lab. We imagine Minoga's lab as a giant toy box or secret base inspired by his tastes. It's full of monsters, his rock collection, and piles of junk such as tools he uses. For who knows what. We hope players would get a peek at his personality, if you can call it that. Minoga's lab is a great place. Just, there's a lot of really cool stuff here. I kind of wish we could have delved a little bit more into it, but I guess a lot of the Minoga plotline is more focused on the egg rather than the thing. Interesting, it looks like almost this, they pulled the character from the models, like an early model. It almost looks like they just ripped them there and then drew around them. As the arena that we fight in. We imagine Mount Sealoin as a frozen region containing sleeping ruins forgotten long ago. The scenery is misted with frost, and the ruins are closed off by thick ice. Almost like old memories. This is also where the showdown with Cheval and the White Dragon take place. And we wanted to create a place cool enough for when the dragon appears, so we added some imposing buildings. Ah, yes. And the giant kinship stone just... Somehow nobody saw this, even with airships. But yeah, there's a... That door is like... It looks like you can walk up to it, but yeah, the loading zone is way before the door. I kind of wish we got a little bit more lore on this place. It is a very cool place, but it is what it is. I guess you've got to leave it up to imagination. Ah, you can even see Cheval here in the distance. And the final battle as well. And finally, the Tower of Illusion. Interesting, the Tower of Illusion would have a little bit of concept art, considering it's pretty simple. For the Tower of Illusion, we envisioned a massive, mysterious tower looming in the distance of the tropics. The tower was built at the same time as the ruins on Mount Sealoin, so the design of the interior of the buildings is similar, but because the tower is where the player goes through a trial, we had to have massive doors. Ah yes, the really big doors with all the different monster inscriptions on it. It is interesting how you can see here it has a more full design here, but when they finally finished it, it has this more of this design. I guess that's all the stuff here. And we have all the different areas too. It's quite a lot. I didn't realize I was going to talk for this long, but yeah, it's almost been an hour. But you know what? I want to gush about this game since we are leaving it at some point, so might as well. We want Hacken Village to have a warm countryside feel with waterfalls and terraced rice fields. It was fun to design the player's room as we worked on it. I imagine the protagonists enjoyed daily life there. There's an egg-shaped cooking hearth, apples for a snack, and the Velocidrome pillar Lilia gave them. Ah, interesting. So that's where the pillow came from. It's from Lilia. That's nice. And actually, we did reflect the intensity of the Monster Hunter settings. There's a gun for self-defense by the door for emergencies. Ah, yes, the good old light bow gun. Ah, interesting. They used a little concept art of Cheval to get the sizes. But yeah, it is kind of funny that, I guess it is a copy-paste sort of situation, but yeah, as you can see, the player's room is copy-pasted in every single location. I never noticed there was actually a gun in this room. That is really interesting. But yeah, I do love the big giant Velocidrome pillow. I do imagine a certain rider would take it with him later in his journey. Hyper-realistic Aptonoth. We decided Gildegaran as a fun, lively city with a bazaar. There are some Easter eggs in the designs, like the Pookie stuffed animal in the armory and in the Hall of Scriveners. Has a bunch of things related to hunters. We made the throne in the Hunters Guild have a really fancy by giving it wings. Roberta's house has that great garden included, and was envisioned as a fashionable house for a guy. I'd like to try out the hammocks sometime. But yeah, as I remember, there is a ton of like armors of various types. Obviously this is just the base armors in the regular games, but they do have the more chipified versions of the armors in the Hunters Guild, which is really cool. Gildegaran is definitely a fun place. There are 2 people there. I guess they wanted a size difference in terms of like the depth of field. But it is kind of interesting they have a lot of... Whoa, what the heck? That's interesting. This must have been a really early build. Look at that. This character doesn't even have anything on. They just have the base undergarments of the hunter. So this one must have been a really early design, because they didn't even have the protagonists designed by that point. You can see a lot of really cool things here. You can see some characters and hunters from definitely other games that I do recognize. Like that guy there with all the old Wyverian lady with all the felines hanging on her backpack. She is from one of the earlier games, which is really cool. Alberex has a large tree holding a kinship stone. We had to redo the tree's face several times to get it just right. The gate for Alberex is designed to look like a bird monster. The architectural style of the town is based on a word I cannot pronounce. Aitit Ben Hando in Morocco and locations in Yemen. We made sure to use colours that wouldn't look dirty if the buildings were abandoned. For the stables, we wanted to make them feel like a colourful place monsters would have fun hanging out. Ah, yes. It is interesting that they supposedly have a stables here, but like you don't really see supposedly a stables. So all this stuff is like just not available for us to see, which is a bit of a shame. It would have been really nice to see monsters hanging out and just chilling. Similar to, I guess like Pokemon Legends Arceus, how they were just standing around in the field. It would have been cool. We also have the arena as well. Oh, and we even have the destroyed version too, which is really nice. In Geo Fulbright, the Sulphurous Smoke and the giant crane really stand out. And as we were designing the city, we imagined the people living there would be laborers who couldn't make it in Gildigaran. Kavaduran, Iran were... Oh, two different locations. Kavaduran, Iran was an architectural reference. We wanted to make sure moving parts like minecarts looked like they could really move. For the ship, we used the gallery ship as reference, and I think the black and red on the eye turned out really cool. So yeah, this is the mining town, essentially. Ah, yes, this ship. I guess we do use it at some point, too. Interesting, they even show off, like, different materials that they used inside the minecarts as well. A lot of cuteness went into Konapi village, which was based on cat-faced houses wearing roofs for hats, decorated with plenty of paw prints. Kawano, the art director, helped refine a lot of aspects, including the cat-like straw around the mayor's roof, and fashioning the village like plastic models. Navarro loves the beach, and we put a pair of stone cat statues there. Actually, if you see them from above, they form a heart shape. The Malink's den is full of little cat statues and other treasures. Ah, yeah. I do like this little place. It is quite a cute little place. A lot of the feline villages that you go to are quite cute. Ah, I see what you mean. Those two stones. Whoa, the corals here were a lot more colourful than in the base game. They are colourful, but they're not that colourful. And we have the Lynx's den as well. And we have just all the other little locations. The roof on the Chandler's cabin is the same shape as his hat. For the inside of his cabin, I remember working with the character designers to come up with the detail that the Chandler has a high body temperature and makes flowers around him blossom. So we added a blossoming plum tree. He's a total glutton, so we put in lots of steamed buns. The pot hook over the hearth is a plesioth, and you can see his colourful underwear collection drying on the line. I guess I did not notice that part, if that was the case. And we also have the cutscene where he shows off the rite of channeling for the first time. It is so funny how the rite of channeling is made to be this big spectacle, but once we actually use it in the game, it's really quick and easy. And we have the hot springs too. Osum is a shelter on the edge of the desert lined with the provisional tents of hunters. The temperature in the desert ranges greatly over the course of a day, so we imagine them using yurts or Mongolian tents to adapt to the environment comfortably. We didn't want to make it a savage atmosphere, so we decorated the tents with designs and added a little fall foliage. I've seen this particular concept art, it's great, and you can also see like just the sheer height difference between these two. I was so thankful for everyone in animation and effects for breathing life into the prayer pot. The mouth open moved so wonderfully. They really nailed the design. We have the guild board as well. With the caravan stand, we focused on getting that handcrafted by a feline look, which gave the airship a retro steampunk vibe to match Dr. Manelga and Itsy Bitsy. Ah, yes, we didn't get to see this too much, because this is during the part where they steal the eggs, so we didn't get a really good look at this thing. Believe... Yep, that is all on this page. And there is only like one more thing to show off, which is this one. Which is all the just group concept art. So this is actually the 3DS's cover page. Which is really cool, because the one on the Switch is different from this one. We have some more of just like, I guess, more action shots and everything like that. This particular artwork, I am using it for the thumbnails, just a little bit. It's just such a great artwork. We have this one, which is, funnily enough, a lot of people point out that this is an error because technically if the Rathalos we're riding on is Ratha, the eye should be scarred over on this side. Unless the picture is actually mirrored in a way. Here we have actually the artwork for the anime, which is really cool. So you can see all the anime related characters here. Which is such a nice touch, because you can see all the different characters and what they look like in just the anime form, as well as their outfits as well. But yeah, whilst I was researching stuff, did find out that Cheval actually ended up picking up a Naga Cougar in his, like, anime counterpart, which is really interesting story-wise. We have another one, which I think this is more related to before the end of the first arc, so it's more dealing with the whole egg situation. But as you can see, you can have all the different characters riding on the different Monsties as well, which is really cool. And we just have a cute little picture. I think this is all the stuff they were trying to design, as you can see here, of how they wanted to make the designs of the saddles, because you can see that's the current design, and this is a prototype. Also, yeah, this used to be known as just Monster Hunter R. Didn't have a name for it just yet. This one sort of gives a Wind Waker design. And this one screams Pokemon somehow. But yeah, it is quite interesting to see like how some of these early designs, like stuff like this, and like this sort of thing, would eventually end up like becoming something totally different. All these type of things. Also, yeah, here's an interesting thing. Here's the white egg, but here's also Ratha's egg. Ratha's egg is the only unique egg in the series, which I often wonder if that's supposed to be a like sort of like a foreshadowing of how Ratha's egg is also a white egg in sort of a way. So it was actually Ratha who's the dragon of legend. Yeah, you can see a more closer design also on the, I guess, the saddle, which is actually a little monster as well. This I found out by looking through the concept art during the playthrough, and as I looked back on it, I was like, oh wait, it actually looks like a little monster, which is really cool. We also get to see how the kinship stone actually works and what it looks like, and how it actually is on the hand, so it's strapped around the palm of the hand as well as the wrist. And we have an example of Shi's and, I guess, Cheval's different kinship stones. You can see here they even had different designs for the kinship stone as well. I do like this one as well. It sort of gives that Skyward Sword beetle look. And here is the fake kinship stone that Debley was trying to sell. Here's the one Dr. Manelga gave to Cheval to try and enhance his own. As well, here's the machine for, I think, all his contraptions. Steak. Very important. Get steam buns. Ah, interesting. I guess this is a sword that just never made it into the game. It's really cool. I wonder what this was going to be for. Unfortunately, I cannot read the Japanese here, but it is interesting that this seems to be a scrapped design. Because I don't recall this ever showing up. But yeah, to think all that concept art would end up coming this, and now it's a series with 3 games in its belt, which is really cool. But I guess that's all I can really show off from this game. That's all the concept art, all the music. Obviously this is all spoilers, but you know, kind of expected at the end of this series. So, I guess this is officially the last video. I have been talking for a whole hour, but this is officially the last video of this series until we move on to Monster Hunter Stories 2. But, because I'm using my own headcanon, because I'm allowed to do that, go check out Monster Hunter Rise to see where we go on from there, I guess. And then some time down the line, I guess we will be doing Stories 2. But for now, I think this is a good place for us to close off Monster Hunter Stories and all of its incredible achievements that we managed to get. So, until next time, hope to see you guys soon. So, take care.